please have a motion to accept the agenda? Second? All in favor? Can I please have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Thank you. Second? All in favor?
One abstention.
One abstention. Is it for you, Carol? Okay.
No. Okay, before we continue with our agenda, and before we do our donations, we're going to switch things around a little bit. So we have some very special guests that we want to get to, and we're very excited to do this.
Yes, we'd like to honor a number of our seniors who are graduating in, what is it, how many days? Oh, you're giggling, that's cute. We've invited some of our seniors who have received scholarships or recognition in the community. They are certainly not representing all of our scholarship recipients because there are still award ceremonies to be had, and we don't want to let the cat out of the bag. But we invited a number of students to share with the board in our community sort of who they are, what they're about, where they're going, and share some memories from their time with us in Hendrick Hudson. So we have a list, so we'll go in order, and we'll start with Kathleen Mahoney. Come on up, Kathleen. Come up and... So go up to the fancy podium and tell us a little bit about your time with us here in Hendrick Hudson and where you're off to.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm going to Boston University to study biomedical engineering, where I'm hoping to also pursue a minor in musical composition, just to keep me sane. I think a memory that speaks to my time at Hendrick Hudson is returning from a summer after hip surgery when I was still having trouble navigating about the building. Not only were my teachers incredibly accepting and understanding, my fellow students, the security guards, the staff, people who I had never met, who I had never spoken to, reached out and helped me make sure that I could pursue my education with fewer barriers.
That's great.
Outstanding. And have you finished your speech yet?
Mostly.
Okay. Good enough. We have a few days. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And Larissa is with us. I'm sort of half in the light here.
Larissa?
No, Larissa. Larissa didn't make it tonight. Okay.
Okay.
Larissa is our salutatorian. She is going to, I believe, Oberlin College, and she's going to major in music, I believe. She won a number of music-related recognitions at our Tri-M ceremony, our Music Honor Society. That was a couple weeks ago. So we'll hear from Larissa also at graduation. She'll give a speech. Let's go with Joe, my friend Joe. Come on up, Joe. Joe DiPietro, who I was able to have breakfast with. He was the recipient of Chamber of Commerce scholarship. So Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're going, and...
I'm Joseph DiPietro, and I will be attending Villanova University in the fall, studying business, primarily accounting or finance, because that's what I feel like I could use my problem solving and analytical skills to help people achieve their financial needs and goals. A memorable experience that I had while at Hendrick Hudson was attending several FBLA, which stands for Future Business Leaders of America, conferences both in-state and nationally. And I remember that in 2018 I came in first in an accounting competition in the state, while in 2017 I came in first at a skills tournament at nationals. So.
That's wonderful.
And there are a lot of teachers that I'd like to recognize, but I'll mention two. One of them is Mr. Lupian, who served as our class advisor and was one of my favorite teachers, and he served as like a guiding light throughout all 4 years of high school. And also Mrs. Jandrzewicz, who served as the FBLA advisor, and she helped me believe that business was like the right path for me. So
That's great.
Guys, I'm so happy for him.
Ms. Pedersen wrote a letter of recommendation for Joe for the scholarship, so it was nice reading that after.
It's just nice seeing my former students in the audience. It's a very good feeling.
Connor, I don't know that I see Connor Gallagher. No Connor. Okay, Connor couldn't make it. Connor won Rotary Scholarship as our male athlete of the year. And this is the first year that Rotary actually put a monetary scholarship to the recognition. It used to just be a plaque, but Rotary put up some money. So we will hear from our female athlete of the year, Pam Lowe.
Hi, I'm Pamela. I'm going to Rider University. I'm majoring in elementary education and minoring in business. And a couple memories is just that all throughout high school, elementary school, and middle school, every staff member, security guard, like Katie said, coaches, peers, they're all helpful and they want to see you succeed. And everybody's just there to help you.
Let's invite up Kylie Mirando. Kylie also is I want to get this right, Rotary Scholarship recipient.
I'm Kylie Mirando. I'm attending Pace University's Business School of Lubin. I plan on majoring in accounting specifically, but I also plan on studying finance in business. My most memorable Hendrick Hudson experience was realizing how great of a community Hendrick Hudson District is. When my father passed last year, the community came together by sending meals, donating money, and sending words of support and sympathy. And it was amazing to realize and see how amazing all of the people that attend Hen HUD and the surrounding area are and can come together for things. Two staff members that I would like to recognize are Dr. Barcombe and Mr. Golski, because they not have only been there for me, but they have inspired me and motivated me. Dr. Barcombe has dedicated many periods in helping me with pre-calculus, AB, and physics my junior year, as well as AP Calculus AB and AP Physics C my senior year. And Hendrick Hudson High School is one of the few high schools that offer AP Physics C around us. So that was a fun journey. And then he also has supported me through losing my father, Timothy Conklin, and much more. Mr. Bergolski has dedicated much time to me as well. He has helped me, write my college essay and guided me through it. And I struggled writing my college essay not because of the task, but because of my topic. And Mr. Bergolski made everything get on paper and it all formatted and perfect and everything I wanted to say out there for me.
Wonderful.
The last couple students we'd like to recognize are Hendrick Hudson High School students, but they also attend BOCES programs. And BOCES provides outstanding opportunities for our students that traditional high schools do not. So I'd like to invite up our next recipient, and she'll share with us her Culinary Arts Award. And for obvious reasons, I will not attempt her first name, but invite up Ms. Ridnour.
Well, hi, I'm Kiajane Ridnour. So it is true, I did go to BOCES for culinary and advanced baking this year, so I was there for 4 hours. So one of the awards I got from there is we had a poster competition, which is a competition where you can do business management or the culinary arts, but I did business management and our concept was frozen. And we won first place for New York, and then we went to nationals, and then we got the highest placement that New York ever gotten, which is 15th place out of the 46 teams that went. So one Hendrick Hudson memorable experience that I would like to, think about was when I first came here, because I moved here from Ossining in my 7th grade year, and everybody here was so welcoming, and I'm so friends with all my friends that I made in 7th grade, as well as just all the activities that we do here and how it's really a good community here. As well as the support I got when I went to nationals, because this year I was barely ever here, but I still got a good number of support, even though I was only here for like 2 periods. So people still knew what I was doing, and even like people I never even met, they said, "Oh, I saw your award on like Facebook," and they still congratulated me, even like with like guards or security, you know, people I never met. Or like how like my bus driver, who I'm so close to now, I'm on a first name basis now, who used to drive me back and forth and knew all the things I did and everything. Another award I got from BOCES was being in the National Tech Honor Society, that I didn't even know I got, or like different scholarships I got. And 2 Hendrick Hudson members I would like to thank is one, Mr. Berkowitz. He was my earth science teacher as well as my geometry teacher, and I've known him like throughout my entire year of being at Hendrick Hudson High School, and he was like one of my biggest supporters. I would also like to thank Mr. Wikowicz. He was my history teacher during my sophomore year, and he really helped me, you know, learn about history as well as finding what I love to do. So where I'm going in the fall is the Culinary Institute of America.
Nice.
I'll be studying I'll be studying hospitality management and minoring in baking and pastry.
Nice. Very nice.
No samples.
Come back
No
in 2
samples.
years with some samples.
Nancy Sinchi, is Nancy here? Nancy is also graduating from our high school, and she received the National Career and Technical Honor Society Scholarship from Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES. And she participated in the law enforcement program, and she is considering her college options or going right into the police academy, so that was a nice honor that one of our students won a very major honor society scholarship from BOCES. And did we miss anyone? Do we have?
I think you got it.
Did we got everyone? Okay. Well, congratulations to all of our students and the family members that were able to make it, because success doesn't happen alone. It's late nights, it's early mornings, it's persistence, a whole lot of yelling, driving, and checking their, you know, internet
Everything.
history, all those things. So thank you, because success, it's hard today. High school, success in high schools in New York State are the highest in terms of rigor that they've ever been. The criteria to meet to get into some of these outstanding schools seems impossible, and we have a great representation of students who will be going off to great places to do great things, and we hope you don't forget about us and come back and keep us in the loop. And we will see you all at graduation in about, what is it? A week and a half. No tears, that's what we say.
No sign.
You gotta fake it. Keep it together for 2 hours.
And it's so nice for me, seeing them when they're little, you know, to see them all grown up and knowing that they're on the road to success, and it's just, it's wonderful. Congratulations to everybody.
Congratulations.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And if you'd like to sneak out right now, we won't be offended. You probably have, I don't know, studying to do. No, that's not the case. We'll go forward with the rest of our business meeting, but you guys don't have to hang around, that's for sure.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Right. All right, before they go.
Define quick.
Carol can go.
Oh, actually, let's wait, because I've got these.
That'll be you along myself, so I'm very proud of the
Oh,
Victoria's going to be you.
there you go.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Should have been the study. And then there were 2.
We have one more recognition, just as we bat out of order here. We are recognizing from the New York State School Boards Association 2 individuals who are being recognized because these board members strive continually to expand their governance, knowledge, and skills of New York State education law and New York State School Boards Association policies. NYSBA, is the acronym, New York State School Boards Association. Their recognition program is comprised of 4 achievement levels, which are reached by accumulating points for participating in trainings such as Board Officers Academy, state mandated training, legal conferences, or other board retreats. We would like to recognize for their achievement our Vice President, Dr. Carol Abraham, and our School Board President, Barbara Patterson.
Thank you.
Okay, so you guys can go to the podium and give a speech as well.
No,
No, okay.
People hear enough from us already.
that's it. I think you hear us all the time. So now we are back on our agenda to donations.
You can just turn and read it.
I know, but that would be too easy. To approve a donation from Blue Mountain, for Blue Mountain Middle School from Bank of America. This is a matching donation from an employee at Bank of America, and it is for $32. We thank whoever donated. That's very generous when people do these matching donations. Next one, we have a donation, $740 for the Hendrick Hudson School District. An employee from New York Life has made a donation of $740. The donation is made possible through the New York Life Foundation for the Hendrick Hudson School District. And again, we thank whoever that is for their generosity. And the last one is a donation from Stop and Shop for the Blue Mountain Middle School. There evidently is a program, Shop A Plus Rewards Program from Stop and Shop, and the total is $133.79. So thank you very, very much. Can I please, every bit helps, every single little bit. So, you know, people sometimes don't even realize a small amount is just absolutely wonderful, as a large amount. Any amount helps, and that is right. So, that being said, can I please have a motion to accept the donations? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next we are up to audience comments. And I just, if anybody has any comments, could you please sign in with Roseanne? There should be something. Each speaker would be permitted 3 minutes for their comments and must be recognized before they speak. All comments must be directed to the board. The board will listen to comments and input, but will not necessarily debate or discuss items. Operational matters will be directed to school administration for handling. The board is not permitted to address personnel or individual student matters in open session. The board will limit repetitive comments in order to give time to others wishing to speak. Do we have anybody who has signed up?
This is actually Alexandra Mazza. She's signing up, but she doesn't really need to, Alexandra. It's okay. She is a new teacher hire. She's very excited to come on board and wanted to take some time to come and introduce herself. She's going to be working at the high school as a high school English teacher.
Oh,
And she was appointed this evening.
Appointed this evening.
Yeah, so I just wanted to come in and formally introduce myself. I feel that that's important. Just say hello. My name is Alexandra Mazza, and I'm just so excited to be beginning my career in a district as renowned and student-centered and progressive, as is demonstrated by the wonderful representation of students that were just here. I'm so impressed. So I just wanted to say hi quickly, and I'll leave you to your board meeting. But hello, and thank you very much. I'm very excited.
Welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
Thank you.
We think this is a wonderful district, so we welcome you to it.
And I am so excited. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you.
Good, well, enjoy your time here.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're up to superintendent's report.
Yeah, a few updates. It is, I've said this the last couple of times, it's our recognition season, so we have 5th grade moving up ceremonies that start tomorrow at Furnace Woods, Friday at BV, and next week at Frank G. And also Monday evening is our 8th grade moving up ceremony, and then The following Sunday is our high school graduation. A lot of activity that will take place over the summer. We've been introduced to Holtec. Holtec is the company who Indian Point or Entergy is selling their operation to. Holtec is a decommissioning company. There are very few of them in the U.S., but they're the ones that Entergy has selected. They don't take over officially until Indian Point ceases to operate. So imagine you have a buyer for your house, you have a contract, but you can't sign it, can't turn over the keys until you actually leave. So the good news is we have a couple years to plan and learn a little bit more from Holtec, to talk to them about their operation, how many employees they're going to have, full-time or part-time. We've already discussed any full-time employees that they have that will need to relocate, whether or not there are incentives from the company or the state or otherwise for them to live and move into our district. And also a pilot agreement. The current pilot agreement that expires in the year 2025, that is a liability and an assumption that will move to Holtec. What we will need to discuss with Holtec after they completely take over is what sort of either tax agreement or pilot that we would have with them after the year 2025. And that will be a negotiation and a discussion we'll have with the board, the town, the village, and all of those folks. What the sale to Holtec indicates, and I mentioned this at a meeting last week, is that it is the nail in the coffin, that this is really happening. How Indian Point announced that they were closing was a little bit bizarre and a shock to all of us, but it's happening. And so the planning that we have begun in terms of increasing our reserves, having outside consultants look at cost analysis studies, it's going to happen and we need to be prepared. We've done a great deal of advocating through a number of channels to make sure that we have different revenue streams, whether it's from the state education department or New York State government, which has basically given us additional revenues beyond when the plant closes, all the way into 2024, and that advocacy will continue. And that was a presentation that Enrique made to the board back on May 8th. So it's happening. We're prepared. We still have work to do in terms of advocacy. Today I was part of a meeting with Congresswoman Lowy and her staff, getting an update on some of the strategies that her and her colleagues in the Congress are going to take in terms of how to create revenue streams for us, but also some very aggressive plans with economic development. So it was an initial discussion and more on that later, because Congress will soon go into summer recess, but then they'll gear up again for a little bit in July and then in September. So, yeah.
Can I ask a question? Holtec, you said, doesn't take over until Entergy is done. You know, they're shutting down in phases the reactors. Holtec doesn't take over until the final reactor is shut off, or do they
Correct.
move in when the first one shuts
They
down?
they may do some transition work, but they do not have decision-making authority until they basically have the
full facility.
I think the spent fuel rods have to be moved into the cooling pool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the deciding factor. Once all the fuel rods are in the cooling pool, that's when they can take over.
That's still Indian Point's responsibility. So when they
Well,
shut
yeah, because there's different reactors,
Right.
so one is going to be sitting there.
Once all are in from both reactors.
Okay, from both reactors.
Then that's when they take over.
But there is some news about how Holtec decommissions and that it's a much more efficient process than it used to be. And they might be able to move some of that spent fuel to some new repository that they're building.
Yeah,
Is that
so
true?
Holtec is basically the leading company petitioning the Federal Department of Energy to create an interim nuclear storage facility. That storage facility right now is being targeted or discussed somewhere in the desert or the mountains in New Mexico. And the idea is, if there could be an interim storage placement, then that property, Indian Point's property, could be flipped quicker, meaning tens of years quicker or dozens of years quicker because you don't have the dry cask or the cylinders on the property still emitting potentially nuclear radiation, even if it's low level. Now, the issue is going to be, and what this community will need to wrestle with, is the difference is, can you be efficient and safe? Can you be efficient and clean? And there are already sides to that argument being taken, and you know, teams are being formed to basically debate that. Anything and everything that Holtec does in terms of the decommissioning process is regulated and supervised by the federal government, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. They don't get to make up the rules, they don't get to have their own policies. Everything is regulated, just like Indian Point's operation is regulated by NRC, so much so that there are government employees that have office space in Indian Point and basically are independent contractors on behalf of the government doing safety checks, looking at data, walking the campus, so on and so forth. So I know that there will be conversation about safety and all of those things, and I'm not, you know, going to pretend I'm a specialist in those areas. What we do know is the federal government regulates all of their activity. Now, whether we believe the federal government knows what they're doing or not, but the federal government has been supervising nuclear power in our country for decades. You know, that may be a conversation that's out of our local pay grade. That's a federal conversation to have, which will probably be a topic for discussion you know, over the next number of months, and we learn more about what Holtec does and what their interests are in terms of trying to move, you know, efficiently versus quickly, and really what their motivations are, because they're a business, they're in business to make money, and they have a budget, which is the decommissioning fund, and you know, their goal is to come in under budget because that's the profit. A typical decommissioning process takes anywhere up to 60 years.
So something about 1.84 billion in the decommissioning fund?
Yep.
And that's what they're looking to make?
Well,
that
would
that
be fund will be
the
revenue.
minus the revenue minus the cost.
Yep.
So they're trying to minimize the
Yep.
cost so they can maximize that revenue.
Yeah. So part of the issue is, or part of the debate other communities have had, is if Holtec is Barbara and they get the pile of $1.8 billion, they're going to make a business decision to either start right away or to slow play it and gain a whole lot of interest on that $1.8 billion. Now, that will be a business decision they have to make because there is no guidance, from what I know, that says you need to actively start the decommissioning process within a window of when you basically take over the property.
Are there incentives to be safer rather than be quick? In other words, are they more incentivized to lower their costs and maximize their profit, or are they more incentivized to be safe?
It's a business.
And I know it's a business, but if you're
I-
incentivized to be safe, then as a business, it's in your
I
best
think
interest
it's
to
more
be
like you're
safe.
just regulated. I don't know if
Yeah,
there's an
I think it
incentive
comes
for
down to the regulation. I think their incentive is to play by the books and play by the rules and not get fined. And
That's
not
right,
be, you know, not be known as a business that's trying to, you know, work fast and loose to either do it quickly or to slow play it to make money. And that was one of the very clear things that was presented to us by Indian Point last week, was that this will still be, the federal government will still have their hand in everything Holtec does, from the safety people they have on board, to the staff that gets hired to make sure they're trained, qualified, certified, and to the daily operations.
Do we know how long Holtec has been in business and how many decommissionings they've actually done?
I can get that to you. When we met with them privately, they walked us through all of that, and I think in the fall they're going to be the lead presenter at our local task force.
It's a group of investors, right? Holtec, it's not necessarily.
No, it's a company. They're out of New Jersey. They're out of Camden, New Jersey, and they have some subsidiaries within them that do research lab work. There's also a subsidiary that builds parts for reactors that Indian Point has used and even international nuclear plants have used. So that they have been in the nuclear business for a while.
So they're gonna take the parts and resell parts and take the scraps and
That I
will
don't.
they make money off
That
that
I
too?
don't know. I don't think that they can. I think when they start taking apart the
Here's what
campus
they
and
do,
they
as
start
long as they
testing,
do what they
you
want
know,
with
they
it.
start testing whether or not there's any
As long as it's safe.
live.
There's rules for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The-
safety is number one.
The one question I had is you talked about that taxes, they'll start picking up the financial burden, taxes or pilot or whatever, when they, take the keys. At what point will the conversation start with that?
We're going to start it soon, so we have an expectation. So everyone has an expectation of expense and revenue, but nothing can be legitimized or approved until they take over. But those conversations have started. Enrique and I have been meeting with the town.
Unless they are in the conversation with Entergy, they agree to the numbers, so we sign and they get the liability when they buy from Entergy. That's why they have to start getting involved, because anything, they are selling not only a nuclear plant, Entergy, they are selling the liability, the asset, everything. So everything goes to Holtec. So if we have an agreement with Entergy, let's say that our pilot agreement with Entergy gets transferred to them. So if we decide to have another pilot agreement with Entergy, obviously Entergy, very likely, and I was not involved in the negotiations, now they have an agreement. Entergy, any agreement that you have with pilots, we have to agree before you sign. I can assume that if they are smart people, that I'm sure they are, that's how they did it. So we can start negotiating with Entergy for a pilot after 2025. And if we agree and Holtec agrees, then we can sign it, and that's part of their liability. As it is today, after 3 years, the pilot goes down to 10%.
Yeah, but that's
So, but also, we have the right to get, and they have the right to get out of the pilot. So if we decide that it is more convenient for us to get out of the pilot, they'll move the assessed value into the rolls. They move the plant into the rolls as it is today, that it's extremely high. So the first thing that will happen, obviously, is that they'll do a tax resort, but that takes time. So we want to be able to know how much we're getting, and they would like to know how much they are going to have to pay, rather than have a judge decide. But we might, that's how it's going to play in the next maybe 1, 2, or 3 years, but we don't know.
Historically, when Holtec, this isn't their first time doing this, historically, and I appreciate that every situation is different, is there any sort of, for lack of a better word, like a bit of a blueprint on what the expectation, I mean, what their goal is to turn it into something that maybe it's that there's some sort of that to assign to rather than just decommission, to take the property and create some value.
They can. Their sole purpose is to decommission, is to clean it up, do whatever they have to do, and then
sell the property.
And then who knows?
Well, the trick is we have been bugging Indian Point since they announced their closure to basically commit to what their decommissioning footprint would be. And they said pretty honestly, we're not in that business, so we can't tell you how much space we need, what roads we need, what part of the property we don't need for decommissioning. We're going to let the people who do that decide. So now Holtec's on board, they can start to evaluate and put together their decommissioning plan. That plan needs to be approved by the government before they can even hire staff or access the decommissioning fund. So they're the group we're working with, and we'll hear about it once they submit their report. of how much of the 240 acres do they need, because we already have a developer, a business developer who did a report saying, you know, you have some valuable property that if you could subdivide this, you know, we might be able to flip it into some business opportunity, manufacturing, industry, or across the street from the plant, there's a handful of acres or a couple dozen of acres that could be used for residential. But they'll be the ones to make that call, and the government will have to approve, their decommissioning footprint, so they could say, okay, let's sell off this property, rather than pay a pilot on it or be taxed on 240 acres if we only need, and I'm making this up, we only need half of that. You know, let's unload it, and let's, you know, not have that liability for the whole parcel.
So is there a possibility that they could sell to, let's say you talk about manufacturing, could they sell to a new plant that causes, you know, pollution or whatever, or becomes, you know, more of an issue for our air quality?
I mean, they would have, if they said, this parcel, we're going to, you know, sell to a developer,
Cold treatment.
whoever comes in would need to still meet all the zoning requirements, and in that case, I think it's the village of Buchanan. I don't know if the village has their own zoning or if they turn to the town, but one of those entities would need to approve it. Because just north is Wheel Grader, you know, they're the
I'm just
trash
thinking like the
recycling.
substation issues that we've had, and, you know, there's been stuff in the neighborhood that really has been negative. And, you know, do we have the potential of having more negative stuff come after the decommissioning when, you know, it's riverfront property? You would think that
It's
it
the
would be valuable, desirable.
It's the only
Right.
unobstructed view of the Hudson River,
doesn't have
all the
train.
way up the river.
Right.
Yep.
There's no train tracks, nothing.
Right.
So it is extremely valuable property.
So you would think so. So when I hear manufacturing, you know, I'm thinking.
I think a lot's predicated on how much they clean that up and where those casks are and how all that, and how much space is needed. I
Or
think
does it
we're
become
getting
a
ahead of
gas
ourselves.
plant or something, you know?
But,
I
you
hope
know,
not.
but
Good.
we can only
Especially for town
speculate, I think, at this point.
That's what I'm
and,
saying,
you
I think
know,
we're getting ahead of
until
ourselves.
there's more information.
Or-
And this would be a great discussion for a town meeting.
Yeah, well, I just wonder, you know, are there, you know, laws in place that would at least give us the local towns some control?
It's the zoning.
It's your
Yeah,
town meeting.
Because then it impacts us from a revenue standpoint, one way or the other.
Yep.
Because depending on how you develop it, the revenue completely
Yeah,
changes.
now the state has committed that, you know, if you go down this road and you have a developer, we, the state, will work with them through Empire State Development Authority and every other agency they have to create a tax incentive to land a business. So whatever business comes in would pay a portion, or making this up, half of what the property should be taxed at, and the state will kick that into us. It's not they'll get a deal and we'll be caught holding the bag. It's the incentive to come here, you know, and build. But that's down the road, but would still need to meet all of the criteria, whether it's the village or the town in terms of zoning and.
Just another scenario we can consider. Okay, thank
I'll
you.
turn it over to Lisa and Laura to give updates.
Well, Jean Gizmervich, our assistant director, got a director position in Dobbs Ferry, so she'll be leaving us. So we have started an active search and a very aggressive timeline to replace her. So we hope to have someone for the reorg meeting to present to you. Meetings. I mean, that's my life right about now. And wrapping up the school year, making sure that we have our grants in order, as well as making sure we have our summer school up and running.
Yeah, it's very busy, as you can see from every agenda, and we have lots of new hires. So we've been today, Lisa and I, for about 4 hours, I think, 4 or 5 hours. I don't know. We lost track of time after a while. Interviewed a lot of candidates for special ed positions. So it's just trying to, you know, work with the buildings, and, you know, we have a process. So now we're at the final stages. I think this is our last group of hiring, and then of course with the assistant director position, that's a big deal. So we put a committee together, and again, aggressive timeline for that. Technology-wise, this is when things start to get real hectic. We have some firewalls that are coming in soon that are going to be being put in, which is going to help with a lot of our security. Our redundant network is finally being put in. We were waiting for the school year to end. We didn't want to risk any interruptions while classes were in session. So next Thursday and Friday, they'll be in the buildings. Enrique has been working with my team in replacement of large copy machines. And then we have our 2 college interns have been doing a phenomenal job. And we have our 3 student helpers starting when school ends, so that will be really exciting to have them on. You know, they're going to be getting dirty and pulling out computers. We've been working with the custodial staff to really organize this summer. It's a really tight schedule with all the summer programming and also to make sure we don't disrupt that, but at the same time, get all of our rooms cleaned, get all the technology set up. We will have a nice new smart panel coming in for our board meetings, so we will be able to utilize that, which will be exciting. So we'll use it for our board meetings, but also a lot of PD and learning spaces that are happening. Yeah, lots more to report the next. Hopefully, lots of things will be done by the next time I report anything. But busy, busy, busy. Again, so busy.
We're hoping all hiring will be done by then.
Yeah.
Why are the firewalls being replaced?
They need to be updated, and we're going to be moving away from Lightspeed, which is software. So this is going to have some built-in systems in place, so it'll be a little bit more secure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies. We really appreciate the work you're both doing, and let's hope that all the interviews go extremely well. Now we move on to committee reports.
I went to the safety committee meeting on June 6th, and we continue to work on the safety plan and on looking at the different aspects of it that need to be revised and updated. We've been working with Alteris to help us determine how that should all be worded. I think we're on target for getting it ready for approval.
Yeah, so what will happen is we're fine-tuning the language based on a series of recommendations which we received. And we will put that out to the community. There's a 30-day wait period. We'll have a presentation at a board meeting at one of our July meetings. Any feedback that we receive, Anthony and some of our consultants will consider it, and we'll approve it in August.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, boy. You've had a slow last couple of weeks. Okay, very good.
Do you want to hear exciting parts from the business office?
Sure,
That's exciting one.
Sure.
We've been waiting for it.
Thank you. So we had the auditors for our yearly audit, the free audit. So we were here for 2 days. That was very exciting. I sent Joe an email about the state controller, like once every month he sends of all the audits, and I review them just in case. They were here in Croton, and they reviewed their all their lawyers, their accountants, and everything, and they were cited that they haven't done it enough, specifically the legal counsel. So unfortunately, it looks like at least we need to do an RFP for legal counsel for the next year. Auditors, we need it, and we decided to wait for next year. So that's the exciting part of my world.
Oh, good.
And be careful what you say, because you have 2 former auditors here, so,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Don't knock the auditors.
Thank you, Mary Pat.
We won't knock them in front of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, well, I know we're up to audience comments for our second round.
Good.
Okay. That being said then, can I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Yes.
Second.
We're gonna go into second exec session.
Did somebody second to,
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
you're moving into executive session?
We're moving
Yes.
into exec session. So can I please have a motion to move into exec session?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.